Hello friends, this is Hatim Rampurawala, and in this video we will revise essay 265. This is a very simple and basic essay. So let's discuss the concept. Name of the essay is Communicating the Deficiencies in the Internal Control to TCWG and the management. So it is communicating the deficiencies in the internal control to the TCWG or the management. It has been divided into like meaning and the meaning of the deficiency in the internal control, and second part is auditor's responsibility. So first we will see that is the meaning of the deficiency in internal control. So what is deficiency in internal control? That is the inability of the internal control to, if there is an internal control but it is inability, there is an inability of it, or we can say it is ineffective basically. So inability of the internal control to prevent, detect or correct the misstatement, or absence of the control necessary to prevent, or whether there or the second case maybe there is an absence of the internal control itself. That is, in first case there is internal control but it is unable to prevent, detect and correct misstatement. Second, absence of the control necessary to prevent, detect and correct the misstatements. So now auditor's responsibility, it has been divided into like identification of the deficiency in the internal control. We had seen the meaning of the deficiency, that is inability of the internal control to prevent, detect and correct misstatement, absence of the control necessary to prevent, detect and correct misstatement. Now, so the auditor's responsibility is identification of the deficiency. He has to first identify, and second, auditor's responsibility is to communicate the deficiency in the internal control. So we'll first see the first part, that is identification. How we will identify? By basically he is by doing the audit procedure. By doing his work, he will identify whether there is deficiency, whether there are deficiency in the internal control. That is first. Determine whether on the basis of the work done, so what all work which an auditor has done, on that determine whether on the basis of the work done any deficiency in the internal control has been identified. So he has to basically ensure that on the work done, determine whether on the work done in deficiency whether the deficiency in the internal control has been identified, and if any deficiency has been identified, he has to see that, determine whether individually or in combination that constitute a significant deficiency. Only if and only it is a significant deficiency, he will communicate the matter to the TCWG and management. So he has to also determine whether it constitutes a significant deficiencies or not. Then what are the indicator of the significant deficiency? If this question comes in exam, that is state the indicator. So we have to first give the reference to the essay, name of the essay, number of the essay, then what is the meaning of the internal control deficiency in the internal control, then auditor's responsibility, then the first point, that is identification of the deficiencies, determine whether the basis of the work done deficiency whether the deficiency in the internal control has been identified, whether that constitutes a significant deficiency, and then we have to give this answer, that is indicators of the significant deficiency. This all reference we have to give, and then we have to write, and this point basically you have to mug up, and the same 6 point we have to quote it in exam as well. So we'll read. First indicator is, see, I will give an like a code type, like first 3 points are in relation to the ineffectiveness. So see, first is evidence of the ineffective aspect of the control environment. So ineffective evidence, so there is an evidence of ineffective control environment, ineffective aspect of control environment. Second, also there is a word ineffective in this. Entities risk assessment procedure, whether it is absent or ineffective. Then third, in third point also there is a word ineffective, that is ineffective response to the identified significant risk. Then fourth is also simple, that is correction of the prior period misstatement arising due to fraud or error. Then management inability to oversee the financial statement preparation. Management inability to oversee the financial statement preparation. And last is that auditor has detected misstatement, that is misstatement detected by the auditor, but were by the audit procedure, by performing the audit procedure, auditor has detected the misstatement which were not prevented, detected or corrected by the entity's internal control. And the second part is, so we'll quickly read again, that is evidence of the ineffective aspect of the control environment. Second, auditors entities risk assessment procedure absence or ineffective. Then third, ineffective response to the identified significant risk. Then correction of the prior period error arising out of the fraud or misstatement. Then management inability to prevent and management inability towards the financial statement preparation. And the last one is misstatement identified by the auditor through the audit procedure were not prevented, detected or corrected by the entity's internal control. And the second responsibility is communication of those deficiencies in the internal control. So mode of the communication, how to communicate, that is in writing. It should be in writing to the TCWG and to management. So to TCWG will communicate significant deficiencies. See, in this essay there are deficiencies which we need to communicate to the management, and if it is a significant deficiency, we'll communicate to the management and as well as we'll communicate to TCWG. So it has been given like in writing to TCWG significant deficiencies, and to management significant deficiencies and other deficiencies, and the content of the communication. What we'll communicate first, description of the deficiencies, like we'll give the description, this deficiencies are the description 1 2 3, these all deficiencies an auditor has identified, that is description of the deficiencies. Then explanation of their potential effect, what are the potential effect of the deficiencies. So potential effect of the deficiency, first is description of the deficiency, then potential explanation of the potential effect. Third, sufficient information. He will also communicate, auditor will communicate the sufficient information, that the purpose of an audit is to express an opinion. And second, he will say, he will inform, that is internal control is to evaluate is evaluated to design the further audit procedure. So content of the communication, first description of the communication, explanation of the potential effect, then sufficient information to explain. He will communicate the sufficient information to explain. The auditor is audit is for the that is the purpose of an audit is to express an opinion. And second, the internal control is evaluated to design the further audit procedure. Okay, so with this we are done with essay 265. Thank you for watching the video.